Good morning everyone. To this video, we will discuss the stages of cognitive development was originated by the Swiss developmental psychologist Jean Piaget. According to his theory of cognitive development, children's intellect evolves through time. A kid's cognitive growth entails more than just collecting information. The youngster must also create or develop a mental pictures of the world. Children go through a variety of stages as their cognitive development is influenced by their intrinsic abilities and contextual experiences. Piaget proposed four stages of cognitive development, including sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operating experience, and lastly, formal operating stage. The order in which the steps occur are expected to be tackled in this video. Watch, listen, and learn.
Jean Piaget has four basic cognitive concepts. And what are those? Let's find out. First, we have what he called schema. Schema is the first basic cognitive concepts of Jean. Jean defines schema as cohesive, repeatable action sequence possessing component actions that are tightly interconnected and governed by a core meaning. In simple terms, Piaget called the schema the basic building block of intelligent behavior, a way of organizing knowledge. The best example of this is when a child may have a schema about a type of animal, such as a dog. For instance, if a child sees a dog for the first time, he creates his own schema of what a dog is. Second, we have what we call assimilation. Assimilation, defined as the learning process, involves attempting to interpret new information within the framework of existing knowledge. It is like adding air into a balloon. You just keep blowing it up and it gets bigger and bigger. If the child sees another dog, this time a little smaller one, he would make a sense of what he is seeing by adding this new information. Third, we have what we call accommodation. Accommodation refers to the part of the adaptation process. The process of accommodation involves altering one's existing schemas or ideas as a result of new information or new experiences. This is the process of creating a new schema. If the child now sees another animal that looks a little bit like a dog but somehow different. And lastly, we have what we called equilibration. Equilibration defined a concept developed by Piaget that describes the cognitive balancing of new information with old knowledge. This is a major component of Piaget's theory of childhood cognitive development. Piaget believed that people have the natural need to understand how the world works and to find order, structure, and predictability in their life. Equilibration is achieving proper balance between assimilation and accommodation. When our experiences do not match our schemata or cognitive structures, we experience cognitive disequilibrium.
Piaget's stages of cognitive development including the following.
Stage 1. Sensory motor stage. The first stage corresponds from birth to infancy. This is the stage when a child who is initially reflexive in grasping, sucking, and reaching becomes more organized in his or her activity. The term sensory motor focuses on the prominence of the senses and muscle movement through which the infant to learn about himself or herself and the world. When we say senses, it is including sense of sight, touch, smell, taste, and hearing. For example, the mother covers her face of funny mascara, so the child are smiling because of their saying that her mother covers face of funny mascara. And also, This stage, the children touch things like a toy and then they put them into their mouths because this stage, they love biting objects. Object permanence. This is the ability of the child to know that an object still exists even without of sight. Halimbawa na lamang dito ay yung isang ina na pinakita niya ang teddy bear sa kanyang anak at tinago. Pagkatapos, sinabi niyang nawala ito. Subalit ang bata ay may kakayang alamin na andyan pa din ang bagay kahit na hindi nakikita.
Stage 2, pre-operational stage or cover from about 2 to 7 years old. At this stage, the child can now make mental representation and is able to pretend. The child is now ever closer to use of symbols. For example, Sandra get his older sister teddy bear and said that, "That's my baby." In that example, Sandra represent teddy bear as a baby. Pre-operational stage highlighted the following. First, symbolic function, egocentrism, centration, irreversibility, animism, and transductive reasoning. First, symbolic function. This is the ability to represent objects and events. A symbol is a thing that represents something else. Example, Raymond and Kenneth, our 2-year-old twin, may pretend that he is drinking from a glass which is really empty. Through that, he pretends the presence of water. Next, egocentrism. This is the tendency of the child to only see his point of view and to assume that everyone also has his same point of view. The best example of this are a 3-year-old girl who cannot understand why her cousin call her daddy uncle and not daddy. Centration. This refers to the tendency of the child to only focus on one aspect of a thing or event and include other aspect. Halimbawa, yung bata pinakitaan ng 2 basong puno ng tubig at sinabi niyang pariha itong puno. Ngunit hindi niya alam na mas malaki pala yung isang baso kaysa isa. Doon, nag-focus lamang siya sa laman ng baso at hindi niya napansin na mas malaki yung isa kaysa isa. Next, irreversibility. Pre-operational children have still inability to reverse their thinking. In this stage, wala pang kakayahan ang bata na mag-reverse ng kanyang nalalaman. Halimbawa, sa math, 2 plus 3 equals 5. But, kung ang tanong ay 5 minus 3, hindi niya alam ang sagot. Animism. This is the tendency of the child to attribute human-like traits or characteristic to inanimate object. Example, at night. The child asked that, "Where's the sun?" And she replied, "Mr. Sun is asleep." Last, transductive reasoning. This refers to the pre-operational child type of reasoning that is neither inductive or deductive.
The stage 3, concrete operational stage.
So, concrete operational stage, this stage is characterized by the ability of the child to think logically but only in terms of concrete objects. This covers approximately the age between 8-11 years or the elementary school years. The concrete operational stage is marked by the following: decentering and reversibility. So, what is decentering? Decentering, this refers to the ability of the child to perceive the different features of the object and situation. Decentering, also known as decentration, refers to the ability to consider multiple aspects of a situation. Example of decentering is, show your child 4 red flowers and 2 white ones. Then ask them, are there more red flowers or more flowers? At 5 years old, your children will probably see more red ones. But when they reach the concrete operational stage, they're able to decenter and focus on two things at once, number and class. So, what is reversibility? Reversibility during this stage of concrete operational stage, the child can now follow the certain operation can be done in reverse. An example of reversibility is that a child might be able to recognize that his or her dog is a Labrador, that a Labrador is a dog, and that a dog is an animal.
Now, we are expected to determine and understand the last stage of cognitive development, the formal operational stage. In the final stage of formal operations covering ages between 12 and 15 years, thinking becomes more logical. They can now solve abstract problems and can hypothesize. This stage is characterized by the following: hypothetical reasoning, analogical reasoning, and deductive reasoning. What is hypothetical reasoning? This is the ability to come up with different hypotheses about a problem and to gather and weigh data in order to make a final decision or judgment. This can be done in the absence of concrete objects. The individuals can now deal with what-if questions. What is analogical reasoning? It is the ability to perceive the relationship in one instance and then use that relationship to narrow down possible answers in another similar situation or problem. The individual in the formal operation stage can make an analogy. For example, if the dress is to cabinet, then the milk is to refrigerator. The person will reason that since the dress can be found in the cabinet, then the milk can be found in the refrigerator. The individual can now understand relationships and do analogical reasoning. Lastly, we have deductive reasoning under the formal operational stage. This is the ability to think logically by applying a general rule to a particular instant or situation. Example: all athletes work out in the gym. Matthew is an athlete. Therefore, Matthew works out in the gym.